Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. What we have today is the Adler 267-373 industrial walking foot sewing machine. The machine is in working condition. The job for today, I bought this sewing machine this summer, and as always I take the machine off the table, take the table apart, get it home and put it away so I can work on it in the winter time. The machine is in working condition. I might have said that already. I did take the time to put it on my test table here, run it a little bit. The upper tension release wasn't working correctly. Sometimes these get out of whack and they don't release the thread tension properly. So I did take this plate off, adjust that, clean these pieces and put it back on so it's working now. But my goal is to get this on a table with a servo motor. It came with a large clutch motor. They are perfectly fine, but this will be coming up for sale, and I bought a servo motor a year ago, so that's what I'm going to put on here, and I'll show you that as we move along. Alright, this is my Adler that I redid last year. I painted it black and went through it. And here on the floor I have all the parts, the servo motor, the linkages that came with it. In that bag are all the parts I took off the new Adler that I'll be putting back together. And over here are all the table parts. I probably won't show putting the table together because it's just so straightforward and simple. You just bolt the legs to the bottom of the table, put on the bracket across the back and the bracket that the foot pedal's on, and you're done. It's only about 8 or 10 bolts and it's put together. So the first thing I'm going to do is put that together, and then I will talk a little more in depth about the servo motor that I purchased to put on there. That's also pretty easy to do, but some people might be wanting to switch from a clutch motor to a servo motor, so I will show a little bit about how that operates. Alright, I've got the part of the table legs put on, and I just want to quickly show you these tables are adjustable. There's a few bolts right there you can loosen up to make it taller or shorter. So once you get to this point, this is a good time that if you've got another machine like I have here that you're comfortable working at, go ahead and measure from the floor to the tabletop. And this one's close enough. It's within a ½ an inch of what I have my machine set at, and I'm going to be selling this anyway, so I'm going to leave it at that setting. And whoever put this together originally did a good job. They had pre-drilled the holes in the table for these screws, wood screws. Those went in really easy with the impact driver. So it only takes, there's like 4 screws on each side, and then there's these bolts in the back, get over here, that hold this arm in, and they've got these little channels to hold this nut, so when you tighten the bolt, all you need is an open-end wrench like this one right here, and you can put this together. Also make sure that you have your legs on the right way so that they're facing the front. Don't want to have them on backwards when you tip the table over. So the only thing I have left to do is put on this foot pedal bracket on the bottom with the foot pedal. That's going to take those 2 long bolts back there, right there. And this is a really heavy machine, so I was happy to see when I bought the table that it is plywood, and that probably intentional because they knew how heavy this machine was, and it'll bend the table if you don't have a good tabletop. Alright, let's continue. I've opened up the bag of parts to mount the motor to the tabletop. You're going to get a few long bolts, nuts, lock washers, and some big washers. And also these rubber grommets. That other piece, this piece is for the the linkage, and these screws are just to mount the control box over there. Control box to the bottom of the table. It's real simple. You just take one of the lag bolts, slide it through the table from the top to the bottom, put on a rubber grommet there just to isolate the vibration. Oops. Put that on to isolate the vibration, and then put the motor on and just snug it down, because you're going to want to make sure that pulley lines up with the cutout in the tabletop. Alright, I've got the servo motor mounted to the bottom of the table. You can see I've got the rubber grommets here, the washer, lock washer, and the nut. And I had to slide it all the way here to line the pulley up with the groove. But bear in mind, I'm going to push this back a little bit. When you buy this bracket that holds the motor is probably going to be like somewhere in the middle. So just don't panic if this doesn't line up with the cutout in your table, because between the movement you have here, loosening that screw, there's an Allen wrench on the other side of this motor, and the adjustments you have in this bracket, you should be able to hit this hole, this cutout without a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and put the camera down and get all this lined up and tightened. Well, I've got the control box mounted to the bottom of the table. It just takes a couple of wood screws. I positioned it on the right hand side, and I went ahead, they will include some of these coated staples. I did go ahead and staple down the power cord. You want to make sure you keep that out of the way of where your belt is going to be running. I didn't do anything with the wires from the control box to the motor yet. I will just zip tie those to the power cable later when I'm happy with the way everything's lined up. I still haven't tightened this either. I can do that later. I'm going to get the table flipped over and then we can continue. Well, I hope you're hanging with me in the video here. We're making some progress. This is the linkage that will come with the servo motor. And it's very simple. You just have to attach it to the lever up here and then adjust the length on it. Attach it to here. Well, you'll attach it to here and then adjust the length and tighten this bolt. And then when you move your foot pedal, you will engage the servo motor. So I've got the control box over here, and I'm thinking this is probably where people are going to get confused, frustrated, maybe even angry, depends on your personality. But anyway, because what's going to happen is you're going to look at this sheet of paper they send with it and you're going to be like, what does this mean? This is like going to Egypt and trying to read the side of the pyramid. So I'm going to study up on this. I put this same motor on another one of my machines. At first it was a little frustrating, but once I figured it out, I actually like the motor, like the control setup. So I'm going to study up on that diagram there a little bit, and then I'll try to explain it the best I can to you. Alright, so let's take a look at the control box here. The switch is right on the side of it. It will work right out of the box, and it has pretty good instructions here just to set it up. But this is simply, I'll just show you a few of the simple things on here. This is just a light. There's a plug-in in the back where you can have your light turned on or off. You hold this down, it'll light up this little indicator, and then it'll go off. The most important thing to me is you can just set your speed here, how fast or how slow you want it to go. Even if you set it at, like, say, I don't know if, okay, like 2200. When you start off, it's not going to be 2200 right away. Let me reach for the pedal here. It'll start off slower, and indicate the speed, and then it'll just, you know, ramp up as you go. One thing you might be interested in, if you could see that on the video, when I started off, it started off at 100. This is going to come set up, or this is usually comes out of the box. It's not on 100. It's on 500 RPM startup speed. And with this machine, somebody will probably be sewing leather. They're not going to want to start that quickly. So let me see if I can show you how to do that. To get into the setup menu, you press the P and the S at the same time, and that'll give you P1. And then if you look at the chart, it'll show start and needle stop speed, startup and stop speed, and that's P1. And you can move through this just like this, P1, P2. So go to P1 and then press this, and see how I set it to 100? When you get yours, it might be at 400 or 500. This one I think was at 400 when I got it, just like that. That means when you start off, it's going to go 400 RPMs right away. You're not going to want to go that fast. If you're doing leather, you're going to want to get this thing to start as slow as you can. So I took this one down to 100, and then you just press that S again to lock it in. And then I also just shut the thing off. It takes a minute to power down, and then I turn it back on. Okay, and then it's just going to do this circular thing. And then when I hit the foot pedal, see how it started at 100 instead of 400 or 500? So that's something you might want to do. And then I've got it, it'll max out at 22. Well, I've got it on 2200 now. I believe it maxes out on, you can change that speed anytime you want when you're working. I mean, this thing, I think it'll go up to 4500 RPMs, which is super fast. But I usually take this down to, I usually don't have to go over 800. So if I'm doing like a long straight stretch of sewing and I don't want to be going super slow, I can just depress the pedal harder and go faster. And yeah, everything else on it, I mean, this is your needle position up and down. I never buy those attachments. I don't really care about that. But if you do buy one, this is how you would set that. And then this is just basically your speed. And the other one I have like this, I just leave the light turned on all the time. So when I turn the motor on, the light comes on along with it, because that's also a good way to remember, you know, if you leave the room, if the light's on your machine, you forgot to turn the motor off. So I just do it that way. Alright, let's continue on. I went ahead and put the thread stand on the table, got the belt on there. The belt's a little bit longer than I would like, but I'm going to use it to demonstrate here. Let me get you on the tripod and I'll show you the machine working. Alright, I took the time to swap out the belt on the machine. The other one was a little too long and it was making a little bit of noise on the pulley. And tightened up the upper tension a little bit. And this is sewing at the 100 RPM setting on the machine. It's about as slow as you're going to get. And then I've got the top speed at 800 RPM. I'll have to turn around to demonstrate that. That's 800 RPMs, and you can set the motor as high as 4500. I don't know who would do that, maybe just a rotary straight stitch machine. But yeah, everything's working good now, and I might make one more video about this machine. If anybody has any questions, leave a comment down below. Okay, as always, thanks for watching. Leave me a like if you like the video, and subscribe if you want to see more sewing machine videos. I don't have too many machines left to work on, but I'll see what I can come up with.